Hey, 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 Facebook. Yes, you are back. What are we doing today? Well, what are you doing today is the question. What have you done today to make your week better? That is the question for the day. What are you doing today to dig deeper? It's all about digging deeper. So I've got some cool stuff I'm going to talk to you guys about today. It kind of goes hand in hand with what we've got coming up this weekend. So if we all know what this weekend is, we know this weekend is Father's Day weekend. So we're going to talk about a book, digging deeper, called 52 Things All Dads, or 52 Things Kids Need from a Dad, or kids need from you if you're the dad. So I'm going to share some of my experiences as a dad and some of my experiences as I've gone through raising two children as a single dad, and all the glories that come with that and the love that I have experienced, and some of the things that I do. And and if you're a dad, I encourage you to go get this book, 52 Things Kids Need from a Dad. Or if you're a mom and you are wanting to give something special to a dad for Father's Day, get them this book. This is a great book. It really it breaks down some of the things that we don't really think about because we're so busy in our lives. And so I really want to dig deeper into today's dig deeper about being a dad, being involved, being present. And one of the great books that I read this book years ago, 52 Things Kids Need from a Dad. And a lot of times, we're doing it already if you're an active dad, and you may not be slowing down enough to be present in their lives. And so, we have a tendency to run through and say, oh, I'm working hard, but everything I'm doing is for the kids. Everything I'm doing is for the family. Well, that's not always the case, and we're going to talk about that today. But anyways, welcome to the Facebook Live Dig Deeper Book Review. That is today. It is Wednesday, and I've got the lovely Jill in the back. Say hi, Jill.
Hi.
Hi. So I want you guys to dig in with me today. If you've got questions, I'm all for it. I know this is a little off topic from real estate, but I think it's important because it's got a lot to do with not just being a great dad or an involved dad, but it also has to do with what we perceive as important versus what really is important in our lives. And if you've got family or if you've got children, then you really need to dig a little deeper into this training today. And I want you to share this. This is a great message to share amongst everybody out there, because dads, people who know dads, and let's just call it like it is. There's a lot of dads that aren't involved. And it's sad, but it's true, okay? And if we can influence any of those dads, or maybe we can give them some insight on why it's so important that those dads are involved in their children's life, that they will start to develop their children and to be great and to be, to be who they're meant to be by encouraging them to want to do more. And so that's really, my biggest message that we're going to dig in today. And so listen, if you're on the Facebook Live, I want you to tell me who you are, where you're from. I want you to give me a shout out, say hi, hello, because I may not spend a whole hour today with you, but I want to get this message out there because we have Father's Day this weekend. And so it's a very important message for everyone, whether it's your dad or, it's a special weekend. And, some of you, you may not have the best relationship with your dads, and I get that. And can it be changed? Yes, anything can be changed. It all has to do with your perception on what you expect and what they're willing to give. See, a lot of times in life, we expect so much from someone, and when they don't give it to us, we have a tendency to get aggravated or agitated, or we push them away. That's all about perception and perspective of what is really intent on what you're expecting. And I'll tell you this, in any relationship, whether it be with your children, whether it be with your parents, the least you expect the more you will be grateful for what they do. I've learned that as a single dad over the years. So, but I wouldn't trade anything for the world. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd have a house full of them, like Jill. I'd have a whole football team up in my house. So it's probably why I am so involved, not just with my children, but with children in my community doing all the things that I do. So anyways, you know how this works, guys. I want to hear from you if you got questions. Listen, if you want to throw a real estate question in there, that's fine. Jill will have me stop and answer questions as we go through. I'm all for that. But the message today is so much more important than real estate. The message today is about really understanding how to get grounded, be involved, be present, and really stop and take a look at what you're in such a hurry for, right? We don't need to be in a hurry all the time. We need to slow down sometimes, you know. Like I find myself all the time slowing down and just getting in the floor with the kids and, you know, letting them get the paint out and paint on me, or, you know, letting them paint my toenails or my fingernails. I mean, it's irrelevant to me. All that stuff is so small, but for them, like, it is such a big thing. Like, Dad let me paint on his belly. You know, like, okay, you paint on my belly. That's cool. It's the little things, guys. It's the little things. It's the little things. So do me a favor. Share this message. This is going to be a powerful message. Share it, share it, share it. If you didn't watch our video from yesterday, Real Estate Investing Talk Show, you should go back and watch that. That was a great one. We talked a lot about an upcoming event. We also shared some great insight on you determining the right market. And so that's some real estate info for you. But today, I'm going to dig deeper for all my dads that watch this and all the dads that you know that if you're not a dad and you're watching this, send this to a dad that you know. Share this message. It's so important that you do that. And make sure you like the page, okay? So let's talk about this. What is Father's Day? Well, Father's Day for me is much bigger than just my dad. Father's Day to me is where I'm blessed to be the child of my Lord and Savior above, and so that's my first father when it comes to everything, and I teach that to my children. When my children, you know, if I ask my kids, I'll say, baby girl or boy, how many dads do you have? And they'll say, well, I have an earthly father and I have a heavenly father. They know very clearly that I am not the glory for everything that they have, and I deliver that message to them on a regular basis, so they do know that. So Father's Days are special for me because I give gratitude to why I'm here, but I also give gratitude for my dad and the struggles that we've gone through and how we've reconnected. And so, you know, I'm going to be a little vulnerable with you here today and share some things about my relationship with my dad and my relationship with my children and how that's changed over the years. And, you know, because growing up, my dad just wasn't involved. He was not an involved dad. He was off doing what it is he was doing. And so, you know, I had a very strong mother who raised two boys independently, and you know, she was our mom and our dad in a lot of cases in our life. And so, you know, she instilled a lot of values in us and made us realize that life was about our own choices. You know, the choice is yours, as the wristband says. And she was really the figure in my life that made me own my own life. No victim mentality, no excuses. That was what it was all about. And so, but I knew that I was missing that relationship with my dad. And so at about 16, 17 years old, I kind of went and hunted him back down and, you know, had a real heart-to-heart, you know. Well, I don't know if it was heart-to-heart. It was more me explaining to him what a POS he is, right? So, you know, I'm a very upfront type of guy. So even at a young age, I was pretty upfront. But he took it well, you know, and that was really the restart of our fabulous relationship that we have today. Because, you know, I made one statement to him back then, and it was that, you know, it was too late to be my dad, but let's work on being friends. And so that was how we restarted, was just being friends, like doing stuff together, and, you know, and building that trust in him again. And you know, and now, like, we're as tight as they come. I mean, me and my dad are like best friends now. And even though we bicker at each other when it comes to real estate projects, give us 5 minutes and we're sitting at the table laughing together. And that is what we really need when it comes to, being a great dad, is to, really understand your child a little bit better and understand the needs aren't so much financially. The needs are more just being involved. Like, a kid could care less if you, live in a big house or have a fancy car. What they care is, are you going to take them to the park? Are you going to go sit in the driveway with chalk and draw on the driveway with them? Those are the things that they care about, because that's where they are in their life right now. And so, I share that with you because, I don't know where you are in the relationship, if you have children or if you don't have children, but I think this is going to be a great book for you. So let me just start off what Josh McDowell said. I'm delighted to see so many inspiring, practical, unexpected ideas for dads in one place, is what he said about this book. What fathers can do to make a lifelong difference. And that's key when I start digging into this. And it goes through 52 things kids need from a dad. We're probably not going to cover all 52 of them, even though there's a lot of great stuff in here. But I just think some of these kind of give us an eye-opener and a perspective, when it comes to what it is truly that we need. And so let's just talk about this in chapter 1. So going into chapter 1, we dig into where it talks about to help them beat the odds. And so when we're talking about our children or our grandchildren, there's a lot that they're facing in this world that maybe you or I didn't face in our world. And, I think about it, this is funny. I was talking to my mom the other day, and, I remember as a kid, I'd get on a bike and I'd ride around the neighborhood and go down to what we call the dirt hill. And it was like where there was construction, but they stopped and we'd play on it. And I asked my mom, I said, Mom, how old was I when I was getting on my bike and riding around and playing down at that dirt hill? And she said, oh, you were about 4. And I thought to myself, 4? Like, there's no way I would let my 4-year-old get on a bike and ride around the neighborhood. Like, I just couldn't even imagine that. But the point is it was a different world, and we're moving into a different world. Our children's children are going to have different worlds. And so let's just talk about this. So statistically, what happens when dads aren't around? So this is some of the things that he talks about. When you can make the case that most devastating rips in our social fabric would be radically reduced if dads were getting the job done at home. That's a huge, bold statement right out in chapter 1. But he's right. Listen, I don't want this to come off to be like I'm beating on dads out there, because, there's a lot of dads that get no credit for the amount of effort they put in and the ability to show up and be present and, just be engaged. And even though they shouldn't really get credit because it's what they're supposed to do, but I'm just saying, like, there are some really good dads out there. But let's say there's a lot more bad dads out there than there are good dads. And that's the sad part is, they think, oh, well, it's a child and you take care of it, to the mom. And that's not the case. In some cases, the mom is just as bad as a bad dad. And so the dad has to step up. And, so I want to give kudos to the dads that do that, first off. So here's some things that they point out. 85% of all youth sitting in prison grew up in a fatherless home. 85% of the youth sitting in prison grew up with a fatherless home. Children who live apart from their fathers are 4.3 times more likely to smoke cigarettes as teenagers than children growing up with their fathers in the home. Fatherless boys and girls are twice as likely to drop out of high school, twice as likely to end up in jail, 4 times more likely to need help for emotional or behavioral problems. 75% of all adolescents patients in chemical abuse centers come from fatherless homes. 3 out of 4 teenage suicides occur in households where a parent has been absent. What does it say? Adolescent females between the age of 15 and 19 years old reared in a home without fathers significantly more likely to, let's read that, engage in premarital sex than adolescent females reared in homes with both a mother and a father. Let me talk about that for a minute, because I do not want you to think that because these statistics are saying this, that mothers aren't doing a good job. I don't want you to think that. I'm just saying that there are proven statistics that when children grow up without a male role model to influence them, they perceive things different from a male. For instance, like a lot of young girls who don't have a father in their life, what do? They go out and try to get married early to try to fill that father need. And so, it's my job as a dad to make my daughter know that she doesn't need no man to give her anything in life, that she is beautiful, that she is wise, and she's intelligent, and she's funny and witty, and she's a princess, and that she is smarter than she gives herself credit for. That's my job as a dad, to reinforce her, to give her the understanding that she is as strong as any man out there to stand on her own 2 feet and walk through this world. That's my job as a dad. And that's every dad's job. And it's my job for my son to make sure that he knows he's a confident male role model, and that he has to show that he is an inspiration to others, and that he has to walk in a leadership role, and that he can't be influenced by other kids because they're doing negative stuff just to be funny. That he has to always stand tall and stand behind his beliefs, and to always be encouraged to know that the truth will always be better than a lie. Like, that's my job, is to get him to see the value into standing strong on his own. And so as a dad involved, our job isn't to pay the bills. Listen, it's great if the dad does pay the bills. And I know some dads may not like this, but I could care 2 cents about that. Because this is my life I'm talking about, and this is what I believe. And I can tell you this, that paying the bills is not you doing your job as a dad. Paying the bills is part of the partnership that you agreed on when you got married. What is outside of that is the roles that you intake as the good Lord has given you as the blessing to be a father. And you've got to own that and step up to the plate, and you've got to be part of that in your daily life. You got to say, look, I'm blessed that I can pay these bills, but I'm more blessed that I can be your dad and I can be a leader to you. I tell my kids all the time, you know what, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I tell them all the time how blessed I am and how thankful I am to be their dad. And it confuses them. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm just thankful that I'm your dad, because you guys are such great children. And you see, that is what we have to instill into them. Like for instance, when kids do something bad, do we want to punish them because they need to know that they can't do that? But I'm always the dad that sits down with them and I say, look, this is what you did wrong and this is why you're getting punished. You got 3 choices. Pick one of them. Right? You want to spend the rest of the evening in your room? You want to, lose X, Y, and Z? Or do you want to spank him? The spanking's going to hurt worse, but it's over faster. Or do you want to go to your room and prolong it? Like, I give them the option to pick. Why? Because I want them to understand that there's repercussions to their actions, but I don't want them to think that because they do something wrong that I'm just going to go, ah, and lash out at them. I need to calm down as a parent, and I need to explain to them what just happened so that they don't feel like this sense of, like, oh man, Dad's mad at me. I don't want them to think I'm mad at them. I want them to understand that I'm a disciplinary and that I have to make sure that they, get, they have the repercussions to what their actions were. To the point to where I make it very clear to my children, if you lie to me, you'll get in more trouble. If you just tell me the truth, then we'll talk about it. I don't care what it is. Because here's why. I want them to know one factor, that as they get older, because see, here's something that I can tell you will happen, because I dealt with it and I went through it as a teenager. When your children get older into their teenage years and they're out at a party and they decide to drink, right? And now all of a sudden they're drinking, what is it?
It shows me a play button on the live and it says something went wrong.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'll refresh my stuff and see. I just wanted to check it. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, I don't know. Can you guys still hear me out there? I was on a roll there.
You were a great roll, too.
Is it coming back?
No, I think we crashed Facebook again.
Down she goes. Yeah? It won't pull up?
Mm-mm. Unless somebody can say something on there and let us know that
I don't know. It says I got 5 people. Look, they're giving me thumbs up.
Oh, look, you're there.
Oh. Okay. I was being told we were out of here. If you can see me. Are you back? Oh, okay. Okay, so here was my point. We thought we crashed Facebook again. My point is that if you work with them now on getting them to understand that you want to communicate with them, you want to talk to them, and you want them to be confident to talk back to you, then when they get into the teenage years and they're at a party and they're drinking and now they're drunk, the last thing you want is your child at a party drunk. That you want them to have the confidence to be able to call you up and say, Dad, you know what? I did something I shouldn't have done. You know, I need you to come pick me up. To me, that would be the greatest compliment than anything else. Not to be afraid to call me that I'm going to rip into them or I'm going to, ground them for a year. I don't want that fear. I want them to know that, yes, I've done something wrong, and if I bring it to my dad, he'll not only come protect me and get me, but he'll also communicate this with me and not just lash out at me. Now, will there be consequences? Of course there will, but there'll be more praise that they called me to come get them than there will be anything. I need my children to have confidence that I am their protector and that I will do whatever I need to do to help them. And that starts when they're small. It starts now when you're talking to them. So the takeaway from chapter 1 was just opening this book and reading this far proves you want to be the kind of dad your kids need. You can do it, Dad. I cannot think of any need in children as long as the need for a father's protection. It's very important, okay? Chapter 2, to stop and catch the fireflies. I don't know if you guys know what fireflies are, but we have them here in the South. They're little bugs that fly around and their butts glow yellow, and they glow and then they disappear. Well, it's so funny that I'm bringing this book back up because just the other night we were running around the backyard with a mason jar. We were running around with a mason jar, catching them. But it's important, and that's what I keep talking about. Like I said, I can't get through all 52 of these things, but I'm going to try to get through at least 9 or 10 of them. But it's these moments that you have to stop and think about, how busy am I really, and what am I really doing? And so the takeaway from that chapter is never miss a chance to stop and make memories. Never miss it. Sometimes you may even want to orchestrate those moments yourself. So this is something that I try to do all the time, like create memories. I'm big on memories. I love creating little memories with friends and with my children and my family. The big fancy stuff is cool, but I like the memories. I like just doing stuff with friends that just, is just something different. That's what I like. And, for example, I took the kids last year to Stone Mountain over in Georgia. And we're actually going back next week. But we went to Stone Mountain during, I forget when it was. Maybe it was this year. Maybe it was spring break or fall break or something. But the Stone Mountain Laser Show was closed. But I was sitting at dinner. Now, this is pretty funny. Listen to this. But I'm sitting at dinner at the hotel with the kids, and I hear the table behind me talking about the laser show. And I said, well, I thought it was closed. And the guy said, oh, well, my company's doing a convention here at the hotel, and we've rented the whole thing out, and we have a private showing. And I thought, wow, a private showing. So I remember I looked over at the kids and I said, "You guys want to go see that laser show?" They were like, "Yeah, we want to go see." So I got the kids, we went over to Stone Mountain, and yes, we snuck in. There was a gate that was wide enough for me to get my big old belly through there and the two kids, and we snuck in and we went all the way down to the bottom and we laid out on the grassy knoll, and there was nobody around us because the private show was way up on a balcony, and me and the two kids got to lay down on the grassy knoll in front of the Stone Mountain laser show and watch the entire laser show by ourselves, literally by ourselves. That's a memory that they still remember. They remember sneaking in, and they remember the laser show and nobody was there. Because they kept saying, "Dad, is it closed? Is it closed?" I'm like, "No, it's going to start." But my point is I'm not telling you guys to go sneak into something, but, I'll do it. So, but it makes memories, okay? A man's real possession in his memory, in nothing else is he rich, in nothing else is he poor. You understand that? Everything's in his memories. That's ultimately, think about this. When you're at a point in your life that you can no longer be active in society, you're pretty much stuck at home or in a nursing home. Hopefully I'll get put in a nursing home. I think it's cool that you get to run around with other old people and play cards and shuffleboard and all that stuff. That just seems cool to me. So, but in that moment, it doesn't matter how rich you are, it doesn't matter how poor you are anymore, because you're not contributing to society in a level of like creating companies and hiring staff. But what doesn't matter is the memories. Like, that's the one thing I hope I never lose, is the ability to remember all the great adventures that I've been on with not just my friends, but my family and my co-workers. That we've traveled the U.S. together and been all kinds of places, states all over, and had great times. So here's his number 3 in here, the author. He talks about number 3, that you need to carry the calf every day. To carry the calf every day, okay? And allow me to apply the principles. How many of you dads can imagine yourselves hugging your teenage son in public? Listen, I will. And they're not going to like it, but I'm going to love them to death, man. Not many. Well, how many of you can imagine getting a great big hug from your kindergartner right in front of his classroom when you come to pick him up after the first day of school? Most of you, or if all of you, do. Yeah, and you know what's so funny is I think about that. I think about when I go pick them up or drop them off. My kids are real big that they want to hug before I leave. And I hug them, and I always think, like, they're not going to do that much longer. Like, there's going to be a day that they won't do it. I'll tell you a sad moment for me. But it was also a moment of understanding that my daughter was, becoming her own. But we were walking down in the hallway at her school, and she holds my hand everywhere. And we're walking down, I'm holding her hand, and we turn the corner. And one of the bigger kids from upstairs come down the hall, and she let go of my hand. It literally killed me. It killed me in that moment, because it was like my little girl is now starting to have perception of what other people may think. And that's something that I know that she needs to be aware of, but I knew in that moment that I had to start working with confidence in her, that it doesn't matter what other people think if she held my hand or gave me hugs or kisses, that it was a demonstration of her bond and her love with me, and that if they didn't understand that, it was only because they didn't have it at home. And so I remembered in that moment, like, I had to let her go and I had to let her do her thing. But I also knew as a dad that I had to step my game up a little bit more to build confidence in her for her love for her dad. And so that it isn't something that she just has to show at home, but she can show it anywhere, and she could be proud of that. So carrying the calf, it's all about being in that moment. He says here, practice persistent parenting, okay? Be there some way every day. This is big, because when you think about this, some parents, and I even have friends like this, and it drives me crazy. They'll say, "Oh, well, I tried. It just ain't working. I've tried. No, it's not about you tried and you're done. You never stop trying. Like, you don't stop. It's your child. You know, it's everything for you. You have to be in that constantly. If I go to Ava's room, my daughter, and she's like, I don't want to talk to you right now. Do I leave the room? Yes, but do I go to the front door? I go right to her door and I say, Ava, I'm not going anywhere. I know you need to calm down, but Dad's going to stay right here until you're ready to talk. And I will stand there. Literally, if it takes me 30 minutes, I will stand at that door until she knows, no matter how mad she gets at me or how frustrated she is at me, I'm not going anywhere. And that makes a demonstration to her that she can't push me away, or she can't push people away that love her because she's mad at them. And so it's all the little things. It's about holding that calf tight and knowing that no matter what, I've always got to be there in some way. So here's a quote that is in here. I like this. Nothing will take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. If I said that right. Persistence and determination are ominous in children's lives. That's my point. It's the persistence that you have to stand strong and let them know you're not going anywhere. I've been at friends' house and the kids are just yelling and screaming and making a fit. And the parent just throws them in the room and shuts the door and walks off. I can't say anything because it's not my child. But let me tell you something. That is not what I would do at all. If my child's throwing a fit, I'm going to remove them from the room. I will promise you that. But I'm going to let everybody know I'll be back in a little bit. Because I'm going to go in there with them and I'm going to sit on that bed with them until they're done throwing a fit and let them know, look, this isn't cool. Like, what you're doing is not right. Like, we need to figure out why you're doing that. Do you want attention? This is the wrong way to get that attention. I'm going to communicate with them so that they understand. But at the same time, I'm not going to give them the attention that most of them are expecting. If they're not getting it, throw a fit and I'll get some type of attention. That's not the attention I want them to perceive that they're going to get. I want them to understand that I'm there to talk to them, but I'm not going to not be clear about the fact that what they're doing is not right. So, number 4, to count the train cars. Listen, I'm very involved in my kids' lives and many kids in my community, from being the president of the PTA board at the elementary school to being a youth minister at my church to being a coach at the YMCA for youth sports. And, so I'm very active in all kinds of kids' lives because I feel like being a dad for me has been such a great gift that I know there's lots of children out there that don't get that time with a dad, or to be able to be, lifted up in a great moment, or to be able to share the word of the Lord with them at my church, or to be a coach for them in sports and encourage them to, if they fall down, get up and it's okay and it's a team environment and that, we can all do this together, and they have to be patient and learn to listen. I'm active as a dad in all ways and forms, and I can tell you that when I'm out on the baseball field, we have a train track that runs right behind us, and when that train comes, I have 2 choices. I can either try to fight against the children's natural urge to be curious to see this train, or I can sit there with them and say, let's count the train cars together. And you know what? When the train goes by, we're right back in it. That's the stuff we have to think about. He ends on chapter 4 with the takeaway. Your kids are watching. I promise you they are. So keep your cool. It's nothing like not being cool around your kids, because let me tell you something. As much as I am involved in my kids' life, they spend time at their moms too. And sometimes at their grandparents. And, am I saying that we all see things the same way? No. But children are influenced all the time when you're not around. And I can always tell because my daughter will tend to try to be a teacher or a parent to my younger son. And you need to listen to me. You need to sit down. You need to do this. You don't need to talk. And I can hear it. And I think, man, that's not what I do. So I have to go up there and say, hey, guys, where did you learn that from? Would you like to be talked to that way, Ava? No. Then why were you talking to your brother that way? Well, I don't know. Because they can't cognitively recall the purpose of it. They just do what? They just mirror. They mirror what they see. And so we have to always be present so that we can combat or really combat the negative that's coming in. Why do you think me as a dad, I'm so involved? Because I want to be at their school and see what influences they're getting there. I want to be at the church and see what influences are there. I want to be at their activities and see what influences are being created there so that I can step in and block any negative influence and explain why that negative influence isn't good for them. And if I was just, seeing them at night or on the weekends, that wouldn't happen. So look for ways to turn a negative into a positive. Always. Here's a great quote from Titus. Teach the older men to exercise self-control, to be worthy of respect, and to live wisely. They must have strong faith and be filled with love and patience. So number 5. Do we have anything I need to respond to?
We've got some funny comments.
Uh-oh. Listen, before I go on the rest of this, what do we got?
All right, so when you were talking about Ava letting go of your hand,
Yes.
Paris said, I yelled, I love you at the window at mine after they got out the car to walk into the school building, and they yelled it back and walked faster into the school.
Love you too. Gotta go.
Could you picture her?
Yeah.
I love you!
That's funny. I like
It
that.
is, yes. And Toby, she says you're a good dad, and no matter what, you can tell that you're there for the kids.
Thanks, Toby.
And we have no one's really saying any questions.
Okay,
Just
that's cool. Well, I'm going to try to get through this in the next 15 minutes for you guys. I always say we're going to be shorter than an hour, and I always go longer than so, all right, so number 5 in the 52 things, he says to start a file folder with their name on it. Guys, this is so powerful. I do this at home. Like, I have files for my son and for my daughter, and every year I put stuff in it from their school and their activities and their craft work. And it's so funny, like, it's so irrelevant to you. Like, and here's something. And I know this might. I don't care. This is just something I do. I'm big on like doing crafts and arts with the kids and like making stuff and painting and because it's what they like. Listen, you have to understand something. None of this stuff I ever did. I didn't do this stuff. I didn't make shirts and sew and like I didn't paint and make crafts and I didn't do any of that. But when I realized this is what my kids liked, I changed my hobbies so that my hobbies would be incongruent with their hobbies so that we could do stuff together. I was just talking to my daughter on the way here, and I said, well, look, we're, Friday, we got the weekend with Father's Day. All next week we're traveling. That weekend we got stuff to do. And she was like, well, what are we going to do on Friday, Dad? And I said, well, quality time. So quality time is what we're doing. But the folder is important because it's so funny every year, or even multiple times throughout the year, she'll go and pull that folder out, and so will my son, and they'll just go through it, just looking at all the stuff they've done. And this is the idea of being in their lives, right? Is that perception of, it may not seem important to you now, but think about this. Think about when they're 18 years old, and they get to go back and look at all the stuff you kept over their childhood and how special that is for them, because now you can hand that over to them and they can show it to their children. And that's our job. Our job as parents is to predict the future and what we need to be doing now that we can hand off to them, whether it's financially, whether it's disciplinary, whether it's wisdom and encouragement, but it's also a lot of the little things. So I've done this, and this has been so powerful. Here's the takeaway. It says, you can't stop time. You can't save everything, but it's astonishing how one photo, one phrase, one tangible reminder of the past can transport you back to a moment in time you thought was gone forever. Isn't that a beautiful quote? God gave us memories that we might have roses in December. I love that. Number 6, to kneel or stand by their bed as they sleep, watching, praying, appreciating the gift of our children, and thinking about the meaning of love. So this is something that I probably do very regularly. I tuck my kids in every night, and when we go to bed, and I say our prayers together. But I also will spend some time in there with them. You know, I'll just lay beside them. It's like that one-on-one time, and I'll just talk with them. You know, well, tell me about this. Well, tell me about that. And, you know, and just have that down moment and that talk time. And you know, my son loves it, and he just wants you laying next to him. My daughter, you know, she loves it too, but she always says, Dad, is this going to be one of those deep talks? Because she knows I go deep sometimes. And she just wants to be prepared, I guess. Dad, is this going to be one of those deep talks? So, but it is about, you know, that bedside time with them to make sure they're comfortable. One of the great privileges reserved for fathers is that when we look at our own children, we get just a small sample of God's love for each of us. And that is such a true fact right there. Romans says this, God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were still sinners. And let me tell you, you know, I know a lot of you know I'm a Christian to the core. And, you know, you think, oh, great life. But I'm going to tell you this right now. One thing I have acknowledged and I know is I'm a sinner, and I'm a sinner, and that's why I need my Christian beliefs, and that's why I need the love of the Lord, is because I know I'm a sinner, right? Like, I know it. Like, I will never be as perfect as Jesus Christ, and I know that, and I know the purpose of why He shed His blood for us, and so not to get too deep into that with you, but. Number 7, to catch them in a lie. Ooh, what happens when you catch them in a lie? Mom didn't notice when I forgot to brush my teeth. I dumped a handful of French fries behind Dad's car seat, and he didn't make me go back and pick them up. I scratched the coffee label with the can opener, and the world didn't come to an end. That's what they think, right? But we need to get them to understand that holding a lie in is more dangerous for them than just being truthful. It's our job now to make them truthful. I've been doing this so long with my daughter that I have such an amazing relationship with her, because she will come straight to me and be like, Dad, I had this friend today, and this friend, I don't think I'm going to be friends with her anymore. And I'm like, why? Because when we were talking, she was just lying. She was just lying, and I kept telling her, well, that's a lie. And she wouldn't even be honest about it, Dad. And I'm just like, that's awesome, baby. Thanks for telling me. And, you know, maybe you need to be a little careful around her. You know, maybe she just lied that time, and, you know, she doesn't have any bad intent from it. You know, but be careful. But that's the open relationship that I'm looking for with my kids. That they're now not just hearing it from me, but when they're out with other kids, they're seeing all the things I'm telling them to be careful about in their own lives, so that they know how to stand back instead of be persuaded to follow in because it's cool, right? So, all right, he ends on that chapter with, kids are going to test you. They really are. Be ready. It is much easier to get them on the right track early and when their spirit is receptive and they have not yet learned to outsmart you, because they will get smarter. Proverbs says this, A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who pours out lies will not go free. That's why I love this book. It's got everything in it that I like. So, all right. Here's the last one I'm going to talk to you about. Number 8. To tell them the hamster died as soon as the hamster dies. Number 8 goes with number 7. And the reason that I'm bringing this up to you is because of this. Don't let your kids lie, so don't you lie either. You understand that? Like, that's the important part. If they know you're truthful, and they know that, hey, the hamster died, and I'm telling you right now, then if they catch it later on that you went and bought a new hamster, and they're like, well, you lied to me. Yeah, I did, but that lie's okay. See, that they don't get that. You just be as truthful as you can with them. And when you make a mistake, you tell them that. I'll give you a prime example. We came home one day from being out for a while, and when I came inside, there was like a bag of chips and some other stuff like out on the floor, and it had been ripped open, and you could tell that it was a big mess. Well, I had assumed it was one of the kids. Couldn't have been my dog. My dog never does that. I've owned this dog for going on 5 years. It's never done that. And so I called both of the kids over and I said, who did this? And they were like, well, I didn't do it. And then Ava was like, well, I didn't do it, Dad. And I said, well, one of you did it. And you need to tell me the truth right now. Ava, Dad, I didn't do it. I promise I didn't do it. And Braden was like, Dad, I didn't do it. And I said, listen, if neither one of you tell me who did it, then I'm going to punish both of you. And Ava was like, I didn't do it, Dad. I didn't do it. Braden, did you do it? And then my son goes, Dad, I did it. And so I pulled him off, and we had a moment together. And then later on, I go in there to clean that mess up, and I notice there was teeth on all the wrappers. The dog had done it. So what did I do? Pulled both of the children back into the room, and I just apologized like to no end. And I said, look, Dad was horribly wrong here. I should have believed you, and I should have trusted you, and, will you forgive me? Like, I was wrong. Like, what I did was wrong. And, whether you do something wrong, you need to own up to it the same as Dad. If I do something wrong, I need to own up to it. And they were like, wow, Dad, that was nice. And I looked at my son, and I said, why did you say yes? And he said, I didn't want Ava to get in trouble. It just crushed me that my son, was willing to step up and take that punishment so that my daughter didn't have to. The love in that moment he shared for his sister, like, just skyrocketed my whole entire understanding of what I'm doing as a father. And I spent probably the next 10 minutes just embellishing on the fact of what Braden had done for his sister was like was more important than anything we had been doing in the last month or something. I was just like, that is a true sign of sacrifice for love for someone. And I was like, your brother literally stepped up so that Ava, you didn't have to, and you need to recognize that. That love for kinsmanship, that love for one sister or brother, you will never be able to take that apart. And that's something that I work on with my children daily, is their love for each other. And so, like, even when they get into arguments, I'll pull them both over to the floor, and I'll sit them down, and I'll sit with them, and I'll say, look, guys, look at each other. Now, Braden, tell Ava 3 things that you like about her. And Ava, tell Braden 3 things you like about him. And then I'll say, now, Braden, tell Ava, a couple of things that you don't like that she does. And then Ava, tell Braden a couple of things that you don't like that he does, so that we can talk through this. And then at the end, I always end on that you guys are brother and sister. Your love for each other will dominate anything ever out there. You need to love your brother and your sister more than you love your friends. And never let your friend influence you to not want to involve your brother or your sister. Always know, no matter what comes at you in life, You two are always together. And that is something that I instill onto them daily as a dad. Now, this book is a great read for anyone. Anyone. I don't care. They have 152 things that kids need from moms too. But this is, obviously I'm a dad, so I picked this up in the airport one day and started reading it, and I thought, wow, that's a great book that anyone should read if you're a dad or you know someone's a dad. So my whole Dig Deeper this Wednesday is about dads, and because of Father's Day this weekend, and I want to help some dads out there to be more involved, to be more present in their children's lives, and to realize it's not a task, it's not a job, it's your love. Like, that is what we are meant to do. At the end of the day, you're not doing your job if you think your job's just to pay the bills. It's not your job. Once children come in the world, it all changes. Your job is to be the greatest influence and role model that you can be to your children, and to always be in their lives in some way, shape, or form. And if you might say, well, I'm busy. Well, stop with lying to yourself. You're not busy, man. You're not. You're busy because you tell yourself you're busy. Well, I work a job, not like you, Zach. I run 9 companies, okay? Don't give me excuses, because I'm going to call you out on it. Oh, well, I don't have the luxury to leave. Okay, well, what about lunch? Could you run down to the school and have lunch with them? Of course you could, right? How many sick days do you get a year that you don't use? Could you take one of those? Maybe spend some time with them. That's all I'm saying. Get in the game, guys. You only get one shot at this with your kids. You get one shot. You don't get makeup time. You don't get to go back and start over. You got one shot. Make it worth your while. Be involved. Love them like they love you, and you'll see these children blossom into something that you could only have dreamed for them to be. Because all they want is they want you involved. That's it. They just want you involved. So, anyways, that's my Dig Deeper today. Anything I need to talk about? Anybody say anything? Anything I need to respond to?
No, you just got Toby all on the great father. Everybody's on the father mode today.
Good, man.
In real estate mode.
Let's switch the gears today. I flipped you on your curve today, didn't you? I came at you about Father's Day. How about that? So, all right, guys. I'll see you next week. Happy Father's Day weekend. Get your game right. Get in the business. Remember, it's your choice. You make it. Make it happen. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Oh, I'm traveling. I'll see you from the road. Next Tuesday, I'll be on the road. I'll be in Georgia. But I'll shoot a quick video. We'll talk a little bit while we're out with the kids. You guys get to see what I'm doing with the children and all that good stuff. But listen, not this coming up Wednesday, but the next Wednesday, we're going to dig into the new book that came out a while back by Steve Jobs, Innovation. You're going to love this one. I'll see you guys.